Hey guys, welcome back to the Sim Twins. I'm Bree, and in this video we are creating the cast of friends. So last week I created friends, some personal friends of ours from our Discord and our Twitch community, and they told me that I should make the characters from the actual show Friends. So I thought, you know what, hey, I do enjoy the show Friends, so I decided to make the main 6 characters, of course, of Friends. And so first up here we've got Rachel. So I tried to match their personality with what I thought they had, because I honestly, I did watch a lot of Friends, but I've kind of watched sporadically. I haven't watched a whole season through, or I haven't went and watched like the whole series. So my personalities, or what I chose for them, was kind of like what I remember. So for Rachel, I chose her as like a party, not a party animal, but I chose her as like, she just wants to be really popular. And I also made her romantic as well as materialistic and non-committal, because of course we know she beats around the bush with Ross throughout the whole show. But I mean, I think with the hair I chose for her actually really reminded me a lot of the iconic Rachel hair that you saw a lot of people have back in the 90s, because, you know, Jennifer Aniston really popularized that hairstyle as a character of Rachel. So I do think that like I did pretty well with making the characters look like I thought. I mean, I feel sometimes when you create people that are real people, it's a little hard sometimes to get all the facial features correct in Create a Sim, but most of the time you can get them pretty correct. And I think there's like a lot of like if somebody saw this character, I think they could recognize that it was Rachel from Friends or something. They could say like, oh yeah, that's Rachel. I definitely can tell that's her and stuff. So I also tried to, I thought like maybe giving them more of like a 90s fashion, but then I thought about like, hey, why don't we change their fashion to be more modern, more like if they were here today. So I tried to make it a little bit more updated, but kind of still kind of clothes that I thought they might wear. And of course, you know, she comes from this really rich family or whatever, but because she doesn't marry the dentist guy, her dad cuts her off and stuff. So, I mean, she has to get a job and learn about the real world, and I think that's why a lot of people liked Friends, just because like the characters were so relatable. I think everybody saw a little bit of themselves in at least one of the characters from the show. I mean, I would say personally, I think I'm like a mixture of Monica and Ross, maybe with a little bit of Rachel thrown in there, just because, you know, in sitcoms or whatever, the characters have such one way about themselves. So obviously real people aren't like that. They're more of a mixture of different types of personalities. But for Ross, I think it was perfect, because if you have Jungle Adventure, you can make him an archaeology scholar. And I was like, that's perfect, because everyone knows Ross is his archaeology professor, and he always talks about how he just loves all that stuff, and he always nerds out about it. So I also gave him bookworm, and then family oriented, and also the gloomy trait, because I mean, I just really thought Ross's character was a little bit of a more of a gloomy character, just because, I mean, think about it. In the very first episode you meet him, he is whining over his failed marriage with his first wife, and he's really gloomy about that. He's like thinking he's never going to fall in love again. So he does have a tendency to be a little gloomy and stuff, so I thought that was just kind of perfect for him. But I mean, I think, like I said, every time, I hate dealing with noses. Like, I do not know why noses to me are the hardest to shape in this game. I just like want them to be perfect, and they're never perfect, and it kind of bugs me. So just don't look at the noses too hard, and then you will appreciate the characters, I think, a little bit more. But for him, you know, I kind of just gave him like a sweater, because that's the kind of character he is. He's just kind of a little bit of a nerd. He just wears simple clothing. He's not too fashionable. And I mean, I think like none of the characters of the show were like super fashionable, and well, in the terms of the guys, I think definitely the girls were more fashion forward, and I definitely could see the female characters in the from the show really showing off their style and like obviously a lot of people back in the 90s really looked to the the Friends characters as fashion kind of icons back in the 90s. So the next character here we are making is Monica, and obviously there are a lot of traits in The Sims that are really perfect for Monica, because I made her a perfectionist, I made her neat, and then I made her a foodie because of course she wants to be a private chef. And I thought that was like really cool when I first watched the show. I didn't realize that that was her aspiration when I just watch the shows every now and then, but then I realized, oh, she is actually kind of a career woman. She wants to be a chef and she wants to be really successful. And I thought that was really cool, because I think sitcoms were the place where there was a lot of progressive thoughts and views in these shows, and to show that, hey, women are not just to be housewives or just to get married and have kids. Like, they can actually be career women. You know, she lived in this huge New York City apartment by herself. How did she afford it? I don't know, because she like worked in this restaurant, and she was just really talented at what she did. And at first I thought about putting her in an updo, and you know, that would like really be a good hairstyle for Monica, because she does wear her hair up a lot. But then I did choose a different, more shorter bob thing with the bangs, which to me reminded more of her hairstyle in the later seasons as the show progressed and stuff. But I mean, I don't know. The reason why I guess I sort of saw myself as Monica is because, not that I'm like as crazy neat and as crazy kind of a little bit neurotic as she is, but I think like I just, you know, with the whole hardworking, she was hardworking, she was dedicated to her craft. Like, I feel like I saw a lot of myself in that. Like, I was less of a party girl, less of a not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. I tried to be a little bit more focused and more school focused and stuff like that. So I definitely saw myself in Monica, with her trying to achieve her goal of being a private chef and all these things. And of course, Monica was a little bit unlucky in love, but she finally found her way, which is great. Because, I mean, I think what people loved about Friends is that the characters were just finding their way. It was just about 6 friends who were young adults who were living in New York City, and they were just trying to figure out what they were going to do with life. And I think if they did a show with a kind of a similar to Friends now, I think it would be pretty popular, because people, I think, universally are trying to figure out who they are and trying to figure out what kind of person they're going to be, or what kind of person they're going to grow up to be. So stories that capture the essence of what it is to grow up and stuff like that, I think are really popular. But next, we're moving on to Chandler Bing. And Chandler, I honestly didn't really know what to give him in terms of like his aspiration stuff, so I just gave him to want to be wealthy, because I know in the show he was a business guy and he was always like, yeah, I'm all about the numbers, and he just did the job because he made a lot of money. But I know later on he did quit his job and start his own venture with the help of Monica and stuff. But I also gave him goofball trait, which I think I also gave Joey the goofball trait. So I think both of them have the goofball trait. But to me, I think compared to Ross, Chandler was kind of the foil of Ross a little bit. How Ross was kind of always about trying to find the perfect woman. He was, you know, and also still being dedicated to like school and learning and knowledge. Well, Chandler was a little bit more relaxed. He wasn't like the infinite bachelor who always had a woman on his arm. He was just more of the character that was like, you know, if I get married, it happens, and if I don't, it doesn't matter. That was like not his goal to have marriage and anything. So he was just kind of more career focused as well, and trying to make as much money as possible. So I'm assuming that's how he afforded his New York City apartment, because I don't know, Joey was an actor, and honestly, they didn't really talk too much about his acting. So I always wondered, like, how much money did Joey make by acting in New York City? Because it never seemed like he really ever had a job. So obviously, I think Chandler was the more stable out of the two of them in that apartment there. But I mean, yeah, I think like looking back at the characters, I hope that I did them justice with what I was doing, but it was really hard. I also realized that all of their faces were really, really long. Like Chandler's face, when I looked at a picture of his character, his forehead is like really, really big actually, and I was trying to replicate that, was trying to make his forehead big, but then that just made the proportions of his face look weird, so I kind of gave up on that. But I mean, I think it sort of looks like it. And also I realized that all these characters just look so much the same. I think if they did a reboot of Friends today, they would definitely have a more diverse cast. I would hope so. I would hope that they have a bunch of different races and ethnicities as the new friends. That would be really cool actually to see that, because obviously we're a very, very culturally diverse place. So I think it would be interesting to see that reflected in the show as well. The next character we're creating is Phoebe. Don't worry, I do spell Phoebe right. I remember to put in the E at the end of her name. Sometimes I'm just really bad with spelling. Phoebe is like one of those hard words that's like, it doesn't look how it's supposed to be spelled. It's one of those type of words. But Phoebe, I was kind of confused. I was like, I know she like likes music and her thing was how she was wanted to play the guitar and everything. But I gave her an animal lover, because I think she also was kind of an animal lover too. I made her cheerful though, and then I made her a green fiend, which I thought was kind of perfect, because I've always felt like she was kind of the, I guess what you call like the hippie character. She was more about free love and all that kind of stuff. That was kind of her character arc in the show, and she was always just about having fun and not trying to be so worried about life, because she had so many hardships. She would always talk about how her like mom and was crazy and her sister was crazy, her twin sister, her evil twin sister Ursula. So she has been through a lot. So she's just a character that wants to be happy and to be, you know, kind of happy-go-lucky at the same time. And I don't know how she did it, because she, I think, was a lot of people's also aspiration to like live in New York, because she was just this character that was living in New York. But how did she pay for it? Nobody really knows. Nobody really knows what she really did, because it never seemed like she really had a stable job. I think she was a masseuse at one point. I don't know. She went through a lot of different jobs throughout the show. So it was really interesting to see. And I think she just was, to me, honestly, a lot of people, I don't know. I think wasn't my favorite character of the show, but I think she was like one of my favorite characters, just because I think she was so goofy and she brought a lot of light to the group, because I feel like some of the characters, like especially Ross, was kind of like a downer, and I was like, Ross, stop being a downer, be more positive. And then like Phoebe was kind of the opposite. So I'm glad that she was there to really balance out the group, and I think all the personalities of the group were really well matched. I think, you know, you have Phoebe, who's this kind of goofy character that everyone's like, well, why would you ever hang out with somebody goofy? But she really did balance out the group, I think, as well. And then, of course, Joey also with his funny tendencies. I think him and Phoebe really did make the group more human, because I feel like some of the other characters, well, mostly Monica and Ross, they're kind of just like these a little bit more neurotic characters. And so they wanted to like, they had too much, I guess, ambition at times, and so Phoebe and Joey were there to kind of like even it out, be like, haha, you know, you can kind of just go life, you know, just chill, you know, just have a chill life. I wanted to give her some more outlandish clothing, but I realized that there aren't really that too outlandish clothing. Like I wanted something kind of mismatched to go with her personality from the show, and just like have something really bright and bold, but I really didn't find anything. I think I ended up using a sweater from Eco Living, which, yeah, I use this one, which is kind of like just a shirt with a long sleeve shirt underneath it, and that was kind of the closest I could have got to this whole, I guess, kind of like boho chic type looking thing that I was trying to do. It was kind of unfortunate though that they don't have more brighter clothes out there. But anyway, the last character, of course, we have is Joey Tribbiani. You know, how you doing, guys? He is just, I think Joey was probably my favorite character from the show. Like, even though he's so goofy, I think he just had such a great personality, and he didn't let stuff get him down. I think even if he was having a bad day, he was always there for the friends. He was always there as a shoulder to cry on. He was always there to give advice to everybody. Well, not really advice, but he was always there just to listen and just provide those moments of comedic relief, because that's what you needed. And out of all the characters, I feel like I did the worst on Joey in terms of like making him look like the actual character. So I do apologize that he doesn't look too much like Matt LeBlanc. Matt LeBlanc. I do feel bad that he doesn't look too much like him. I tried, but also I noticed that his face was also very square. They all had like the guys really had all like kind of square jaws, and it was kind of hard to replicate. So I'm sorry if they don't really look like the characters from the actual show. I did try my best. But yeah, I mean, I just think Joey was a fun character, and I know people like thought he was goofy, and they're like, he's a character with no motivation, no really story, no really place where he's going. But I thought, you know, he was fun and he brought a lot of life to the group. But anyway, we're almost to the end of this video. These people are up on the gallery for you to download, so you can download them. Our gallery ID is the Sim Twins 14, so feel free to add these to your game, and then you can kind of like even make your own sitcom if you wanted to. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I know there are a lot of content creators out there that make sets and they make people based off TV shows and stuff, so I just wanted to try it too because I thought it would be a lot of fun. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.